Right, here we go, episode 2 on the kit. There's a lot of discussion as well about, and I'm sometimes even asked, when you sit with campers and walkers, what is your go-to bit of kit? What's the one bit of kit you always take with you everywhere? And what I'm going to do now is introduce you to the one bit of kit I always take with me everywhere, even when I'm going walking with my little boy, and wherever I go, it's always in my rucksack. Bit of history. Joined the army in the early 1980s. That's how old I am. And in those days we had what's called 58 pattern webbing, which was a canvas, and you weren't issued with a waterproof. You were issued with just about everything else, very basic. And but the waterproof was called the 58 pattern poncho, and you weren't allowed to wear it. And the reason you weren't allowed to wear it is because it was made out of nylon, and it was a sort of big green square with a hood in the middle. Sort of similar idea to the German Second World War Zeltbahn or the British groundsheet cape. And it was a poncho, but because it was made out of nylon, it rustled. So it wasn't very stealthy. It made a lot of noise. But what you could use it for was, it was called basha. Basha is a word from the Far East, whereby people were operating in the jungles. Some people call them tarps. The army adopted the word basha, and typical for squaddies, they took basha, B-A-S-H-A, and made a mnemonic out of it, which stood for British Army Standard Hotel Accommodation. And again, it was just a basic tarp. It was quite small, too small actually to use to cover your sleeping bag, but that was just one of those things. That was the only bit of shelter you had, and you weren't allowed to use it as a waterproof because of this sort of thing. We eventually got issued with waterproofs about the sort of mid-1980s, and yeah, otherwise you had to buy your own, and you had to wear them underneath your parasmock, because again, waterproofs are nylon, they'd rustle. But about sort of mid-1980s, I went to train with the Americans. The Americans did what they always do, which is take something that's a British bit of kit and make it much better. One of the first swaps I did was the American Army warm weather sleeping system. Went to Camp Blanding in Florida, worked with the 2nd 187th Airborne Ranger Company and the 3rd Battalion of Special Forces, which are American units. And I saw their basha, their poncho, their tarp, and thought, wow, that's a good bit of kit. Firstly, it was camouflage instead of green. Secondly, it was lighter, much lighter, because they made it out of much lighter material. And it was the same size and had everything else, but it did everything that the British 58 pattern poncho did. And but it was just a much better, lighter piece of kit. And it's just so versatile. Now, one thing I will say is, in the army, there's sort of fashions, and one of the things, you're not allowed to wear your poncho. And people will laugh if they say, oh, poncho is terrible, you shouldn't wear them, blah, 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 you can't fight in a poncho. Well, you can if you put your webbing on over the top of it. There's a saying, any idiot can get cold and wet, and it takes brains to stay warm and dry. So if you've got nothing else, then it's fine. But there's 1,001 other uses for this. Now, I've been on the top of the Isle of the Cullion Ridge in the Isle of Skye. I've had this with me, and I've had my waterproofs on. You know what it's like when it's horizontal rain, particularly when you're on a bare-arse mountain top, and you're going to get wet. And just the idea of putting the poncho on, just putting the poncho on top of everything else that I had. It was cold, it was the middle of July, I think it was, or early August, and it was sleet and snow starting, but it was about 3,500 feet. And that poncho just made it all the difference, just putting the poncho on. Again, I put it on underneath my rucksack. You can put the poncho on so it tops over the back of your rucksack and keeps your rucksack dry as well. But they are so useful. They're a bivvy bag, they're a tarp, or basha, whatever you want to call it. They're a water catch. You can catch water in the hood when it rains. You can get fresh water. Use these to catch fresh water. It's a ground sheet. It's, I do a lot of outdoor swimming. It's a changing robe. You can get changed underneath it. Nobody can see what's going on underneath it. And you can get naked underneath one of these, and nobody knows. I've even heard of the ladies saying, well, they're carrying one or two of them when they're out in the mountains, and if they need to take a call of nature, they can put their poncho on. Nobody can see what they're doing. They're just having a bit of a squat. But yeah, fair enough. Everybody has to take call of nature. Why shouldn't the ladies? But they're just such a fantastic bit of kit. Now, I've got mine here. keep a belt with it just to keep it together, and it also can be used as a belt. This has had fab seal put on it a few times, normally once every 2 or 3 years. If it's got another thing is, if it just starts suddenly raining and you are sitting or waiting for the rest of the crew to get there and everybody else, you can put your poncho on and just sit there like that, and you are completely waterproof. You don't have to put all the rest of the waterproof on. And the thing about it being baggy is you're not getting condensation underneath it. You've got a hood, which is an excellent bit of kit to keep your head warm, with a drawstring, and on the side you've got these press studs, and the press studs are actually organised in a very useful way. They firstly, you can press them into each other and bring the system together to make a proper cape, and I'll do it with a couple on either side, so that you do actually have arms. At the top you've got eyelets in the middle under each corner, so you can use it for bashering, and I'll show you that in a minute. But get a couple of these together, and if you do a couple at the bottom as well, one either side. Again, you can put this on just as it is. You can put it on over the top of your rucksack or underneath your rucksack, put it together, and Bob's your uncle, there you are, there's your poncho, and it is completely keeping you waterproof, particularly if you're wandering around, not just for festivals, but they are just useful in the woods as well. Now then, the other thing about a camouflage poncho is sometimes when I'm on the mountains, I go out in a nice red Gore-Tex and all the rest of it. You've got a camouflage poncho, you just want to go cut across that bit of land or whatever, and you don't want people to see, you just put the camouflage poncho on. It just sort of makes you disappear into the background, particularly on those cold, wet, rainy, horrible days. So that's it as a poncho. You will see there's a little drawstring hood. How do you catch water in it? Well, basically you just turn it upside down, string it up to 4 trees or 4 rocks or whatever, or just put it in the middle. Do the hood up all the way, let the hood hang down. That hood is actually designed so that it will catch within it, once it's fully drawn up, 2 pints of water in the bottom. It will catch 2 pints of water. Now string it out to 4 trees at each corner, 2 pints of water in the bottom of that's good water. You know, and when you're really thirsty and you haven't got much water, fantastic, and it rains, that is your water catch. I'll do a basher in a minute, but before I do the basher, what I am going to do is undo the poppers where I've done them up that way, and I'm now going to do them in the opposite direction. And when you do the poppers up side to side, and once again your eyelets at each corner, poppers side to side, fit in each other. I'll just get this together. It takes 2 minutes to do, really easy. And it means you don't have to carry another bit of kit, which is your bivvy bag. This becomes your bivvy bag. Press it all down the sides. You can sit in it as a bivvy bag, push it underneath your bum. You've got a bit of a ground sheet, and you can use it as I've just sat in it before, or if you want to, you can get this and snap it together that way, and you have a long bivvy bag. Again, caught out all night, starts to rain in the middle of nowhere, get yourself sat in it. There you have your bivvy bag, and it actually is about 2-point-something meters long, so you can sit in that as a bivvy bag, and you can get your warm kit on and wait for people to come or whatever if it's raining. You might get a bit of condensation on the side. It's open at the side, so you don't get too much condensation in it, but it still works as a bivvy bag. And again, all you need to do I just do up the draw cord on the hood at the side, stop the wood getting in. That's the bivvy bag. Right, of course there is the other use which I mentioned, which is use as a tarp. Again, let's do this. Always carry with me spare rope, and here, just to make it easy, I've got bungees. However, on the inside of it, you saw how small it packed, I also have, and I always keep with it, just like a belt and some hooks on the inside. Carry a whole load of cordage with it so that I can make it into a tarp or string it up to a tree or whatever. You can also make a hammock out of it. Yeah, you can make a hammock out of this, which is a bit bizarre. But what I'm going to do now is just have a little wander and get these out and make a basha stroke tarp shelter out of it. Once again, you can have it underneath you as a ground sheet, but again, if it starts slinging it down in the middle of the night, particularly if there's two of you, you can have one as a ground sheet, one as a tarp. That's the way we used to use it in the army, one buddying up, buddy system. One of you has the basha above and the other one beneath you, and you both basically go underneath that. When you're using it as a tarp, again, get the hood done up all the way, tie that round so your hood is up, and let's get this round here. Let's just try this here. Use that there. That'll probably rescue it. I'll make a diamond tarp, and I'll take the camera back in a moment and show you it. It's not quite square, so you do need to realise that it's offset. So when you're putting your tent pegs in, let's put that one in there, and let's get that one. Put that one. Right, there we are. I'm going to lift the camera now so I can show you the way it's sorted. There we are. Bungeed onto one tree, bungeed onto the other. I'd normally have that a lot lower if I was camping underneath it, but it makes an excellent shelter for your for just to sit under, and it goes up in a matter of seconds. You've just seen it go up. Brilliant bit of kit. My one go-to piece of kit, always goes with me, is a US Army poncho. They also have the US Army poncho liner, which is another brilliant bit of kit, and that makes a small sleeping bag. But you can have it, there's also tarpology is a wonderful thing. You can have it in all sorts of different configurations. It's not huge, but it's better than nothing, and for considering the size of it, it is just so versatile. Even when I'm carrying a basha, I still carry this bit of kit, because sometimes I use it as a ground sheet, and it's all of the other uses for it, from wild swimming to everything else. And if you get up in the middle of the night and you have to wander about or anything like that, just throw you, and it's pouring down, just throw your poncho on, and just dead easy to get on, get off, and it works brilliantly. Anyway, I'm going to have to go now, but that's my go-to bit of kit, and it is the US Army poncho. You can get all sorts of different kind of makes of them. They're normally about 20 quid, somewhere between 20 and 30 quid. Helicon make them, DD hammocks used to do one, but they don't anymore. They just do the usual tarp system without the hood in the middle. The British Army stopped doing 58 pattern ponchos and got I think it was a 95 pattern, or Combat 95 basha, and they didn't have the hood in, which was just balmy, because the hood just makes it 10 times more useful. You can catch water in the hood, and you know, you can still use it as a sort of bivvy bag, sort of survival bag. It's just got so many uses. But yeah, brilliant bit of kit. Some people laugh, oh, it's a poncho. I don't like ponchos, and you know, with ponchos you look a bit silly. Who cares what you look like? When you're outside, any idiot can get cold and wet. And if you can stay warm and dry, and you've got the bits of kit that you need, that's brilliant. But yeah, always carry one of these, a few bungees or some bits of cordage, and that's all you need to carry. You can put them on over your rucksack or under your rucksack, and they just keep you warm and dry. Brilliant bit of kit, excellent, and I can't recommend them enough. But if you've not been in the army, or you've been in the army but you didn't get out much, you probably think they're not very good. The 58 pattern poncho was a bit useless because it was too big and too heavy and too rubbish. But the US Army ponchos that you get now are brilliant. You can get them in multicam, all sorts of different kind of colours. But make sure you get the ones with the eyelets at the side and the press studs. That you can turn them into a proper poncho or a bivvy bag. Yeah, just an excellent bit of kit. There are so many uses for it. You can even use it as a stretcher. You know, you put somebody in it, and 4 of you carrying them at the corners. You can use it as a hammock. You can use it as a changing robe. You can use it as a basha, a ground sheet, you name it. And when you're walking away from your kit, you can use it. But you know, if you've got your rucksack and you're leaving it somewhere where you do a final assault on the summit, 1, it'll make sure your rucksack's not quite as visible to people who might want to steal it, and 2, you just cover your rucksack in it, and all your kit that you're leaving down the bottom, and it just keeps it all nice and waterproof. You know where it is. So that's what you want. And it's also a hide when you're out there watching nature and you perhaps just want to be a little less visible than you were before. Nice camouflage poncho does you the world of good. If you're not into camouflage or that sort of thing, or you don't want to hide from anybody, you can get them in red, orange, blue, you name it. I've seen them all. Just go into eBay and put poncho on. Army poncho, US Army poncho, and you'll get one of these, about somewhere between 20 and 30 quid. And they are a brilliant bit of kit. Can't recommend them enough. Right, that's enough of my drivel for this time, and we'll see what else I can come out with next time, if anybody's interested, which you're probably not. But tarpology, get into it. Bushcraft, get into it. Get outside, get into the forest and get on the mountains. That's our home. It's not leaving home when you go there, you are going home. Just get into the great outdoors, get healthy, and to stop sitting around watching television and flicking around on social media and all the other crap that we get, which is a distraction. That's a distraction from your real life. Get outside your comfort zone, get outside and just do a little bit of time in the wild. Okay, right, see you in a bit.